Hi there, welcome to some of the latest news on the Jay Slater missing person case. Today we look at the news regarding one of the waitresses that was at the rave in which Jay Slater was attending before going missing. The waitress has spoken out to give her side of the story as to what she saw, how Jay appeared, etc. We're going to be looking at those details today. I don't know if that's the one in which the father was annoyed with, or maybe it was with the other female when it came to asking about the bus and the timing of it, when Jay walked in the opposite direction as she saw him but didn't really mention anything about it. With regards to that, I think we did make reference to it in the last video. Be sure to check that out if you want, where the eye symbol is. But that aside, in terms of this waitress who reported seeing Jay looking unwell and giving him free water. I mean, at the end of the day, you could say the waitress is a person of interest, one of the last few individuals to have seen him before he left the area. You could argue that, right? The waitress, as to what else did she witness, who Jay was with, was there any other dodgy characters about, did Jay get in any fights or any tension with anyone there? But at the end of the day, in fairness, you know, the waitress has a job, or you'd at least think has a job, responsibilities to do other stuff, to, waitress, do their job, do their role. They can't just babysit one individual, and they weren't to be anticipating or expecting that that individual that they came across, which was Jay, was going to turn out as a missing person afterwards, right? It kind of makes me think of the Riley Strain case, in which you've got a bar, serves alcohol, you got a particular individual that comes on in who could already be drunk and causing a bit of disruption, ordered to leave, and then fast forward onwards, that person that was told to leave ends up dead elsewhere, and some people put the blame, the petitions on the bar to say that they need to do better, they need to look after the customers more. But, whether it be a rave, a bar, or wherever, there'll be a big crowd of people coming along. You can't just focus on each individual person. It's just not possible. You're there to do your job, to serve the drinks, to take orders, etc., whatever, right? To take upon other responsibilities past that point is probably above the pay grade or something, where you're not getting paid to do that additional stuff, so why should you have to? As I'm just giving these for and against arguments, but if you want the real details, we need to take a look at this latest article and see what the waitress has had to say in addition. Here we are, the title reads, Missing Jay Slater Revelation as Tenerife Rave Waitress Speaks Out. 19-year-old has not been seen since attending the New Rave Generation event at the Papagayo nightclub in Tenerife. And that appears to be a photo of him. Footage of Jay reportedly at the rave via TikTok by Leah Birch. Now, is Leah Birch the one that was at the rave themselves recording it, or did they repost it? I'm not too sure. And why would anyone take footage of Jay? Surely it would have been a friend taking a photo, a friendly photo or a candid video of their friend when in the moment having fun or partying. If it was a complete stranger, then that could raise a few eyebrows and think, who is surveying? Is anyone following Jay? It seems a bit weird. But nevertheless, this still photo at least captures Jay, maybe looking out of it, looking ill. I mean, if it is a still photo, you don't get the full context. But if you've watched the whole video, if there is a video, then it might make more sense. But is this to imply that he's drunk, he's not quite there with it? I mean, above, on his forehead, he's got his black shade sunglasses, which do look somewhat similar to the glasses that were found when people were searching about in the mountainous area. Direct link, 100% confirmed. Nope. Has been an update since? Nope. Why is that? Because it's not that important. Because it was a dead end. But to be honest, even if it was a dead end, an update should be given to tick it off the list, debunk it. Debunking is just as important as reinforcing points along the way when dealing with evidence, material, images, etc. So there's Jay there, at least one photo. It says, a waitress says missing Jay Slater looked unwell at the nightclub and was given free water. The search for the 19-year-old continues after he vanished in Tenerife after staying at an Airbnb in a secluded area, which he supposedly didn't feel comfortable with, but supposedly comfortable enough to get there in the first place. It's understood he earlier attended the rave. So, whilst Jay Slater was at the rave, because his body hasn't been found, no test could be done on his body to check for his system, his blood, anything like that. Is there any small chance that Jay Slater's drink may have been spiked? You hear about spiking more nowadays. You think that's possible anyway? Does anyone know? I think, you know, is there a possibility that a drink was spiked, which then led to Jay making the wrong decisions or not being quite there with it? So two guys came to him or crossed paths and said, you know what, we'll take care of you. And Jay was like, sure, whatever, took him to the Airbnb. And then when he came round to realization kicked in, why did I come here? Why am I here? I need to get away, right? That's just an idea. It's not a fact. It's just trying to piece it together. You know, the waitress is saying that Jay appears ill. Why would he be ill? Like some kind of illness passing around, like a flu, but worse in the area. Any food poisoning? Sometimes when you go on holiday, that can happen. Could you be just simply too drunk? Alcohol poisoning? Maybe not that. I'm just going through possibilities. You can always let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video as to why Jay appeared ill, supposedly. For the waitress to say that Jay appeared ill, the waitress would have some kind of experience with, you know, customers and people they're around and how they can look and appear at times in clubs. And if they appear ill, then maybe they truly are, right? Just a suggestion. But when it does come to clubs, raves, depending what the policies are and how strict it is and the surveillance as well, drinks can be spiked at times. Am I saying that's the case here? No, not for definite, but there's always that small chance. You never know. If the family are quite adamant and firm that Jay simply wouldn't go with two strangers to that Airbnb and cover some distance when only 10 minutes away, well, at some point at least, let's just make that very clear, at some point 10 minutes away from where he was supposed to be heading back to, right? I mean, as for the image here, I don't know if it was this image or another image. I think some people were saying that, you know, on what day was this taken? Is it correct to the actual date, the timestamp? Anyway, let's just continue on, nevertheless. Jay and friends flew to the country for the 3-day New Rave Generation event hosted at bars and clubs. Video footage shows Jay dancing as he mingles with ravers at a crowded event at the club. In the clip, Jay's attire appears identical to what he was last seen wearing, a grey sports top featuring a light green stripe across the shoulders coupled with a black bag, reports. So it appears that at least this description from that screenshot footage was, you know, it's just a still shot which, you know, captures someone in a bad angle or bad facial expression. So they're just dancing, partying, nothing odd to see at that moment, but willing to mingle with others. Could he have mingled with the wrong type? You never know. So, it says here, an employee at the nightclub has now spoken of her memories of Jay. Why is it taken her now to speak out and not way back at the start? Unless this article is reposting old news. But to me, I'm seeing it for the first time. I just want to be honest with you. So this employee said, she told The Sun, in quotes, I remembered Jay because he was unstable on his feet. I gave him some water for free as he didn't look well. I remembered him. My boyfriend called me in the morning and said he was missing. I recognized his picture straight away. I feel so sad. It feels very close to home as I am his age as well. I feel so much for his family. Okay, you're the same age. But why would you be able to remember him specifically when there are so many other people at the club? Do you know him more, closer? Is there a bit of backstory, history? Because at the end of the day, like the saying goes, when you're out in public and you might feel a bit conscious, no one really cares about you. No one's looking directly at you at all times. So in this situation, in this moment, why would this particular employee remember Jay when there's so many other people present and you've got a job, a responsibility to follow through with and not just babysit Jay? You know, sometimes there's got to be additional factors or characteristics as to why you remember someone, why a moment is memorable, right? Because it stands out to everything else. A person stands out from everyone in the crowd. Factors like that. Is Jay the only one to appear at that rave looking ill and unstable on his feet? Was he unstable because he was drunk, or was he unstable because he took some kind of substance, or his drink was spiked? I mean, with the whole talk about drug dealing, him being caught up in it, or seeing something he's not supposed to at some point onwards, or losing drugs packages, at any point was he in possession of any? Did he find any? Were they passed on? Did he use any? all these different questions to explain why he wasn't quite there with it. Makes you think. But you can always leave your thoughts down below. So, interesting. Jay left the club and went with the two others to the Airbnb in the village of Mesca, approximately 37 kilometres north. The following morning, he spoke to friends, indicating he was going to walk back, a journey that would take 11 hours before he vanished, which seems a bit ridiculous. This appears to be another picture taken before his disappearance, and is that at the rave as well? I mean, does he look drunk? Does he look ill? He's not exactly smiling. I mean, if it's an actual photo taken, they weren't exactly prepared from the looks of it, I guess. But then there's an overlay, an emoji, and a heart. So this makes me think, was this like a repost? Because why would you have a crying emoji and a heart as if something bad happened in the moment? If it's more so reposted and you've added a sticker over it, that would make more sense. You're thinking, oh, poor Jay, this was the last time we saw him. Hopefully he can be found with a sad face. You know, something like that. I think there might be an overlay on that. The NRG Rave's Instagram account posted a statement expressing gratitude to those who attended the festival and those who have assisted in the search efforts. The post read, "Firstly, thank you to everyone who came to our event in Tenerife last weekend. You'll be aware among the attendees, 19-year-old Jay Slater, after leaving the event, reported missing on the north of the island on Monday. We're grateful for the thousands who have engaged and shared appeals, their own and many other channels over the day since." When they say many other channels, do they mean channels as in YouTube channels or channels through groups out there physically? Despite the widespread coverage and hard work of the local authorities and volunteers involved in the search, at the time of posting, Jay has not been found yet. That's such a devastating situation. It's interesting because whilst there might have been widespread coverage and the hard work of local authorities and volunteers, in the eyes of the family, it's not good enough. Well, if it's not good enough, what about that GoFundMe, the 50,000? Well, we're not using that, or we're using that for other stuff. Well, if there is a problem and it can be fixed with money, then use it, right? And I don't mean any problem just in general. I mean like a specific problem such as we can't get the equipment to do the searches. We don't have the exact resources or the operators to handle this or handle that. We need more experienced people, you know, those type of issues or limitations. So the theme of what state of mind was Jay in at the time before going missing and even before going to that Airbnb is quite critical in the decision making of oneself and where they get about. Now, if you used to work backwards, I guess, when Jay was already at the Airbnb and he was actually trying to leave the place somewhat abruptly, going off track, going on the routes into the open, the mountainous area where it becomes a bit more rural and desolate, making that call at that specific point, 1% battery, saying he's thirsty, dehydrated, kind of lost, scared to go back to that Airbnb, wants to get back to Los Cristianos, etc. Right, he's not in a good place. Mentally, physically, you're dehydrated, the temperatures, the sun, it's not a good combination, is it? Dehydrated, you can succumb to the environment if you don't get enough water in the correct time. Dehydration, it's just not good. In terms of being scared, that can affect your decision making as to what you do next. You might panic, you might make rash decisions, and it could backfire, hence why you disappeared and maybe possibly passed away. You never know. But if you used to put that aside, okay, because that could be somewhat obvious. We've seen, or we've seen how it's been worded as to the state or somewhat of a condition he was in at the time. Not exactly a great position to be in, fair enough. But what about way before that? So if at this rave, this nightclub, whatever you want to call it, and he appears ill from the perspective of a waitress who has served and seen many partygoers over time, I'm assuming, unless this is her first time doing it as well, but if she does have experience, granted her age though, somewhat young maybe, wouldn't have as much experience, but if she has been around a bit in the place or done similar stuff elsewhere and has seen a handful of customers and partygoers come in and out and how they appear, and she's seen others that have been ill, then she probably have a better idea as to, you know, what correlates to appearing or looking ill. So unstable on the feet, facial expressions, are they quite there with it? The skin complexion, are they pale or not? Are the eyes? All kinds of things. I'm not a medical expert, but you know, if you've seen enough, you'll get that experience. So then when you do point someone else out as being possibly ill, it might be more likely than just a random person just to give ideas like that and throw it out the hat, right? So what I'm getting at, if Jay was supposedly already ill, even before he went missing, is that one of the key components as to why he went with those two guys? I mean, you know, the arguments for where you could say, well, he's lost his key, that's one factor. How does he get back? Well, it's only 10 minutes away, supposedly. You could just ask at the reception for a spare key or even call your friends somehow. I'm sure you'd have enough battery then compared to after where it's on 1% only. So there's a counterpoint to that. But if you're feeling ill, right? And if at some point the friends left, was he still ill past that point? Was he supposedly ill when he got into the car with the two guys? Because if it followed through and he wasn't quite there with it, or he was just going with the flow, he was in the moment, his decision making could have been somewhat impaired. So he was like, oh yeah, sure, let's go together. Oh yeah, let's go here. But in other situations, if he was more sobered up or if he was more healthy, he might have been like, you know what, I don't know who you are, but you know, I need to head back. You know, different types of reasoning depending on the state of mind and the health you are at that point can play a major factor. So you can work backwards to try and understand at what point did Jay's decision making impacted by external factors or internal factors, which then led to the beginning of the inevitable. So if you agree with any of that, such as across a timeline of where he became vulnerable, was he always vulnerable? Did he only become vulnerable when his friends decided to head back to the place he was staying at? Did Jay become vulnerable when he supposedly came ill to something from the perspective of that waitress? I mean, of course, the waitress can't babysit him when she's got to do a job and serve other people, etc. But I just want to know your thoughts. It's about looking at these smaller factors, these observations across the way, and do they tie in with why he went with the guys, why he went missing? I mean, the later one where he's out and about and he's trying to return back and he's dehydrated. Well, he could have gone somewhere to seek shelter from the sun, shade to help in a way, or could have tried finding water supply somewhere, getting to a beach, right, if it's possible or not. Desperation kicking in. Factors like that, poor decision making, going off track in hopes of getting back. Whereas if he maybe followed the road, he would have had a better chance. So just factors like that. You can always let me know your thoughts down below. I appreciate your patience. Thanks for watching. Feel free to catch up on recent videos and we'll see what happens next. Goodbye for now.